fluffy mic as we go. So, I hope you all enjoy. I hope this video makes you feel nice and relaxed. And let's get started. I have 3 stories for you guys today, and they are fairly long. Not super long or anything, but you know, decent story. And I just kind of skimmed through them. I didn't really read the whole story because I wanted to be surprised with you guys. Ew, there's something sticky in my mic. Probably slime from one of my other videos. Okay, I'll get that later. Sorry if that was annoying to hear. Yes, so let's get started. No more distractions. This first story is called Celine Dion. And as you can probably see in my glasses, I will be reading from the laptop, which is over here. Okay. I work in the office of a school. I know a lot more about the students and their families than they probably realize. Most of the people I work with genuinely love their job and their students. But of course, there's the one parent or the weird kid or the quirky kid who might end up being a Dahmer, might not. That's excessive. Last week, I was sitting at my desk listening to 90s music while I made spreadsheets, and My Heart Will Go On came on, my Pandora. For whatever reason, I immediately transported back to 1998, 5th grade, lime green, single-person bathroom across from the gym. I don't know what that means. I and every girl at the school had signed up to sing Titanic in the school talent show. The year before, I had performed in Carnegie Hall, so my stuff was pretty rose-scented. Okay, I am glad that I don't remember how I found out, but I could do the intro chords at the top of my lungs, and it would echo ever so perfectly. The best part, I was alone in the bathroom, so I had no reason to feel embarrassed. No one could hear me. It made my effing stomach hurt thinking about how many times someone probably said in passing, "Hey Jennifer, Siobhan Elliott was in the bathroom again today. Hopefully she learns a new song soon." Or they rolled their eyes in the cafeteria because they could hear me right next door. Every MWF when I asked to go to the bathroom. Oh, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday when I asked to go to the bathroom, my gym teacher was probably like, "Go ahead, you little effing weirdo." If I could go back in time and change it, I wouldn't. But if I could go back to last week and not have the flashback that made me so embarrassed, I could have thrown up. I might skip that. I don't think that's embarrassing. I was definitely a music kid in school. I was a theater kid, so I was singing off the top of my lungs in the hallways, in the classroom before class started. I did not care. I was always singing, and I did not care if anybody thought I was annoying because I was good. Thank you very much. So, Celine Dion, no need to be embarrassed. Own it. If you're fabulous, you're fabulous. And let the haters hate. Okay, what's our next story? Caught trash talking our camp counselor. This one's a bit longer. I'm sorry if you can hear the background noise right now. I'm like kind of close to the window. Sorry. Okay, caught trash talking our camp counselor. After going to a sleepaway summer camp, I can tell you that there's no one that loves trash talking more than teenage girls. That's probably true. This particular year I went, we had an interesting counselor. She was very emotionally and physically distant from us. She was never around for our group activities, and she would always cover other counselors' dinner duty when she didn't need to. That's when you spend your dinner sitting in your living unit, making sure campers aren't doing anything stupid. Lots of my bunkmates had mental disabilities, and they would come to her when they needed help, but she never did anything about it. I'm talking give the most generic answer possible and then move on. This upset our cabin, so they just started... Wait, I lost my place. This upset our cabin, so they just started voicing their opinions on her to the rest of the bunk. And look, I'm not here to say that talking about someone behind their back is cool, but this girl was really something. You could count on one hand the time she sat with our bunk at meal times during the entire month, and this was compared to our other counselor, who was an absolute saint. Not to mention it was her first year at camp, and she was super nervous. So this one night after our group activity, which ran longer than normal, we were all back at the cabin in our beds. Lots of our bunkmates had been crying that night for personal reasons, and we were all just in sort of a sad mood. Our other counselor was away on a trip that all counselors needed to take once a session, so we only had one. This was the problematic one, of course, but she was nowhere to be seen. Turns out she was having a complete mental breakdown in the head counselor's cabin, leaving all 11 of her children alone in the bunk. We must have sat there for hours before she came in, and it was at least 12 by then. In the meantime, all of my bunkmates were still crying and complaining that we had no counselor, and that if you're in a mental state where you're crying, complaining that we had no counselor, and that if you're in a mental state where you're crying in the head counselor's cabin for like 3 hours, then you probably shouldn't be signing up to take care of 11 teenage girls. This discussion went on for a while, but halfway in we heard some rustling and voices outside. We continued talking for a couple more minutes before the door slid open and in came our counselor. Let's just say we had a long conversation the following night, which did involve all of us crying, including the counselor. I feel like I could identify with that counselor, honestly. She was just minding her business, right? She was just trying to do her job and not let her emotions get the best of her, and not let everyone else's emotions get the best of her as well. I can totally understand that. And then in the end, not them, like, they're like ragging on her for crying in the head counselor's office, but they were, from what I can tell, they were all crying every day, so why can't she cry one time, right? So I think the teenage girls were being a little hard on the counselor, and I can totally identify her. And yeah, they shouldn't be embarrassed, because they should have been a little more sympathetic to our situation. But they're teenagers, so we can't fault them too much, right? They're just teenagers. I was a jerk when I was a teenager too. Okay, and our last story. It's called Toxified the Whole Class. This sounds awful. It happened when I was in grade 4. The teacher was talking about what happens inside our body after we eat. From the start of her explanation, I knew it was going to be bad because of all the food I ate, like a fat pig at recess right before class. Anyway, she started talking about how it digests in our organs during that time. I was only thinking about, okay, they didn't put any punctuation marks in this post, so let me go backtrack a little bit. Anyway, she started talking about how it digests in our organs. During that time, I was only thinking about food I'm going to eat at home. After a few moments, I decided to drink water. Usually after I drink water, I burp so loudly. After I drank, my stomach started growling, my nose was being itchy like I wanted to sneeze, and my a-hole was being inflated by all the toxic fart I had after eating the school lunch spicy food. I knew that I couldn't let out a huge sneeze and a huge burp as well as a huge fart. So I started to hold back my fart, trying to pull it back in. I was sweating so much at the end, I burped. Luckily, no one heard it, but till this day, I wish I didn't celebrate too early. After the burp came out, the fart came out so effing loudly, it probably echoed through the whole school hallway. Maybe even the janitor heard it. After that toxifying fart, everyone's head turned over to me like a herd of sheep when you hold wheat. It was complete silence, and my face was as ugly as the Goblin King from The Hobbit. So yeah, that's my story. Somebody commented, "Are you Kevin James from Grown Up?" Oops. That's pretty awful, I'm not gonna lie. That was an awful story. I would have just had to go to the bathroom, honestly. Like, I need to excuse myself because something's going down.